Have you ever woken up crying without knowing why? Have you ever felt a sudden, deep sadness, as if you were carrying an invisible weight? And I'm not talking about just having a bad day. I'm referring to that constant feeling of emptiness, insecurity, or even shame, without any apparent reason. Well, many times these signs aren't just a phase or anxiety. They can be silent symptoms of something deeper. Narcissistic abuse. If this sounds familiar, stay with me in this video. I'll show you 5 signals your body and mind are sending you, but that you might be ignoring. My name is Lauren Mitchell, and my purpose with this channel is to show you that the problem was never you. Join our growing community. Subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. I count on your support. Narcissistic abuse doesn't usually arrive with shouting or obvious violence. It creeps in softly, almost imperceptibly. Often, it starts with excessive attention, constant compliments, a connection that feels unique and deep. It's like you finally found someone who truly understands you. But slowly, something changes. You start noticing subtle control over your choices, your friendships, even your emotions. Small criticisms disguised as jokes begin to appear. Phrases like, "You're too sensitive," or "No one else would put up with you the way I do," become routine, and over time, you start to believe them. Narcissistic abuse is emotional, psychological, and often invisible even to those experiencing it. It leaves no physical marks, but it causes deep scars in self-esteem, confidence, and perception of reality. One of the main reasons this type of abuse is so hard to recognize is because it happens in layers. There isn't a clear moment when something wrong occurs. Instead, it's a slow process of manipulation, where each small emotional attack is followed by moments of affection or validation. This creates a vicious cycle. You feel hurt, yet also guilty. After all, things shouldn't feel this way if everything were fine, right? And that's exactly the abuser's intention. They make you doubt yourself, ignore the warning signs, and justify harmful behaviors. But those signs are there, whether it's unexplained sadness, constant fatigue, or even the sensation of losing touch with yourself. It's time to name what you're feeling. Let's start with the first silent symptom. First symptom, unexplained sadness and constant crying. Have you ever finished a meeting with someone and walked away crying, without understanding why? Have there been days when everything seemed normal, yet you couldn't stop crying? And it wasn't sadness over something specific. It was as if a heavy cloud had settled inside you. This kind of sadness without an apparent cause is one of the most silent symptoms of narcissistic abuse. It appears without explanation, seems to come out of nowhere, and you often try to justify it with trivial things. "I must be tired, maybe it's PMS," or "I think I'm just becoming too sensitive." But this sadness isn't coming from nothing. It comes from the emotional exhaustion of living in constant discomfort, from the frustration of always seeking validation and never feeling enough, from the daily effort to please someone who is never satisfied. And many times, it comes from the feeling that you're losing touch with who you really are. The worst part is that, in this kind of relationship, even the good moments can carry confusion. You might spend an entire day laughing and feeling special, only to wake up in the middle of the night hours later with chest pain and tears streaming down your face, with no idea why. This happens because the abuser makes you doubt your own reality. They invalidate your feelings, minimize your concerns, and eventually you start believing that you're exaggerating, that maybe you're causing this suffering yourself. But that's not true. It's the weight of living under constant emotional pressure. It's your heart trying to warn you that something is wrong. Now that you've recognized this first sign, let's move on to another symptom that often accompanies this sadness, one that could be quietly undermining your self-confidence without you even realizing it. Second symptom, plummeting self-esteem. Before, you were sure of who you were. You knew your worth, where you could go, and what you deserved. You had confidence in your choices, even when you made mistakes. But now everything feels different. You find yourself constantly doubting who you are. You question whether you did the right thing, if you said something wrong, or if you simply weren't enough. And every interaction with this person seems to reinforce the idea that you're never good enough. This is one of the most silent, but also most devastating signs of narcissistic abuse. Your self-esteem slowly drains away, like sand slipping through your fingers. And the worst part is that you often don't even realize how it happened. The abuser does this subtly. They don't need to shout or insult directly. They use well-disguised sarcasm, indirect comparisons, empty compliments. Phrases like, "You look this pretty every day," or "Wow, "You actually understood this time. I wasn't sure you could." These comments might seem like harmless jokes to outsiders, but to you, they leave a mark. And over time, you begin to internalize these messages. You start believing that you really aren't smart enough, that you can't make good decisions, that you always need to improve. Even your achievements feel smaller. You become afraid of being seen as someone who can't succeed on your own. This kind of manipulation is cruel because it doesn't just hurt in the moment. It leaves lasting scars. It makes you doubt your own perception, your abilities, and even your value as a person. And that's exactly why recognizing this symptom is so important. Because when you start feeling like you no longer recognize yourself, that you're losing touch with who you truly are, it's a sign that something is deeply affecting you. Now, let's talk about another sign that many people ignore, but which reveals a lot about the emotional control exerted by the abuser. Third symptom, constant fear of making a mistake or saying the wrong thing. Have you ever caught yourself carefully choosing every word before speaking? Have you felt that knot in your stomach just thinking about how the other person will react to what you're about to say? This isn't normal insecurity. It's fear, a constant, almost instinctive fear of saying or doing the wrong thing and suffering the consequences. This is one of the clearest signs that you're living under emotional pressure. It's not fear of accidentally hurting someone. It's fear, because you know anything you say can be used against you. The abuser doesn't need to yell to scare you. Sometimes, all it takes is a different look, a short reply, or a subtle change in tone. Small gestures that make you withdraw, justify yourself, or even change your thoughts just to avoid conflict. And over time, this fear becomes a habit. You start walking on eggshells. Literally. You avoid certain topics. You hold back opinions. You even stop expressing your feelings because you know they'll be turned against you. It's like living in a constant state of alert. You never know how the other person will react. One day they seem happy and affectionate, but the next, everything becomes a reason for criticism, sarcasm, or emotional punishment. And this unpredictability leaves you exhausted. This dynamic creates a cruel cycle. The more you try to please them, the more responsible you feel for their well-being. The more you avoid conflict, the more disconnected you become from your own needs. And the more you stay silent, the stronger the feeling grows that your voice doesn't matter. But here's the truth. You shouldn't live in fear of being yourself. No one deserves to spend their days trying to predict reactions, justifying your existence, or shrinking to avoid causing trouble. If this sounds familiar, know that you're not imagining things. This constant fear has a reason, and it's warning you that something needs to change. Now, let's move on to a symptom that reveals how abuse gradually removes you from your own world. Fourth symptom, gradual social isolation. Have you noticed how, little by little, your friends started disappearing from your routine? How you stopped going out as much, stopped replying to messages, stopped accepting invitations? At first, it may have seemed normal. Maybe it was just fatigue, or a busier phase. You were involved with someone important, and maybe you didn't have as much time for others. That's okay. After all, priorities naturally shift sometimes, but the strange part is that this change seems to have come at a cost. You feel increasingly alone. The sense of connection with other people has faded away, almost without you noticing. Even your family feels distant, and when you think about it, you feel guilty, as if it were your fault for pulling away. What often goes unnoticed is that this isolation doesn't happen by accident. It follows a pattern. It's a slow, almost imperceptible movement that pushes you away from the people who once filled your daily life. The abuser doesn't need to forbid you from seeing who you want. They do something more subtle. They question your choices, devalue your friendships, and create discomfort around the people in your life. They never really understood you. You waste too much time on people who don't value you. No one takes care of you like I do. Over time, you begin to believe this. You start doubting your own relationships. You cancel plans with friends because you know you'll hear criticism afterward. You stop talking to family because you know anything you say will be used against you. And this way, you end up closer to the person hurting you, and further away from those who could protect you. This kind of isolation is one of the most effective forms of emotional control. When you're alone, it's easier to manipulate you. It's harder to question the version of reality the other person presents, and it's harder to ask for help. If you've noticed this happening in your life, it's an important sign. Don't ignore it, because being surrounded by people who love and support you is exactly what you deserve. Fifth symptom, extreme physical and mental exhaustion. You go to bed early but wake up exhausted. It feels like your body never truly rests. There are days when even breathing feels like an effort. You're not doing anything out of the ordinary, but you feel as if you've been running non-stop all day. This constant fatigue, without any medical explanation, is more common than you might think, and often, it's directly linked to the type of emotional tension you experience daily, because living under continuous psychological pressure drains your energy. It's not just your mind that gets tired, your body pays the price too. Your nervous system stays in a near constant state of alert, even if you're not consciously aware of it. You live on edge, always trying to anticipate reactions, avoid conflicts, and please someone who is never satisfied. And over time, this wears everything down: your concentration, your mood, your physical health. That's why many people start experiencing unexplained pains, persistent insomnia, or even digestive issues. Chronic stress manifests in the body in many ways, because it's not just a passing emotion. It's a constant internal battle. The worst part? This exhaustion makes you doubt yourself. You start thinking you're getting sick, that maybe you're aging too fast, or that you're losing the ability to handle normal life. But the truth is different. You're not weak. You've been carrying an invisible weight for far too long. And here's the cruelest part. When you show this fatigue, you often receive sarcasm or dismissal. You've always been dramatic. It's just laziness. No one has time for so much drama. And then, on top of suffering, you also feel guilty for feeling this way. But know this, your body doesn't lie. It's trying to warn you. All this exhaustion is real, and it has a reason. If you made it this far, it means something inside you recognized these signs, and that is already an important step. Perhaps the most important one. You're not imagining things. The pain you feel, the sadness without explanation, the constant fatigue, all of this has a reason. You're not weak for feeling it. You're strong for trying to understand it. These 5 silent symptoms of narcissistic abuse don't appear by accident. They are messages from your body and mind warning you that something needs to change, that you deserve better than relationships that leave you confused, drained, or afraid of being who you truly are. And although recognizing this may be painful, it can also be liberating, because now you have names for what you've experienced. You have words to describe what once felt vague and undefined, and with that comes clarity. You are not alone. Many people live through this silently, believing it's normal, their fault, or even part of love, but it's not. Love does not make you feel smaller. It doesn't make you afraid to speak, to exist, to be who you are. Real love strengthens, it welcomes, it respects. If this video brought any relief, clarity, or recognition, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment, and let me know which of these symptoms resonated with you the most. It might help others find themselves in this conversation too. Also, in the description of this video, there's a link to support materials created with great care to help you reframe what you've been through. Strengthen your self-esteem and move forward with more inner peace. It's definitely worth checking out. In addition, this channel has many other videos that can help you heal. If you can, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and keep following along. If you'd like to dive even deeper into this topic, the suggested video on screen right now might be the perfect next step. Remember, you are light. Never forget to shine.